Welcome to the Candidate Series on 27 WJTS. I am Paul Knies, the host, and with us at this time is a candidate for Sheriff of Dubois County, Forrest. How are you doing?
Real well.
Forrest Kieser, who is running for Dubois County Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been with the department now 20 years. I've got 19 years on the road. Next year will be my 20th. I spent 1 year as chief jailer there at the office. During that whole time, been blessed, I guess you could say, to be married to my wife, Angie. We got married after I graduated from Indiana State University with a bachelor's degree in criminology. I've got two sons, one a junior in high school, Stephen, and Kyle, who is a 8th grader at the middle school. So between them and work, they keep me busy, you know. But probably the best thing I could tell you about myself is law enforcement has always been something that I've wanted to do my entire life. Like I said, have done it now for 20 years and want to continue doing it and do it the best I can.
Why are you seeking the office?
The reason that I would like to be sheriff is I believe that the citizens of Dubois County deserve to have the best sheriff's department and in turn the best sheriff that they can possibly have. And I think the best sheriff's department begins with a sheriff that would be a strong leader. As has been pointed out throughout the primary and through this election cycle, there are various problems and issues there at the Sheriff's Department. I don't think anyone should, hide from that fact. A lot of those problems have persisted over the last 20 years, and because of that, it has led to, low morale, inefficiency on the part of the department, possibly some inadequate services. And all of that has an effect on the protection that your family and my family and everyone else's families here in Dubois County get. And it's, again, my belief that the sheriff should have a plan to deal with these, and other problems that come up, and I do, and that's why I want to be sheriff, so that I can take care of these problems.
Just what are the duties of the sheriff?
The basic duties of the sheriff himself would involve budgeting for both, for a lack of a better term, I guess, the jail side and the law enforcement side of the sheriff's department, because we do basically have two distinct areas underneath the guise of the sheriff department. And again, besides the budgeting, he would have to see that the inmates are being cared for, taken care of. Also has to see to the law enforcement duties that are called upon for the department for the unincorporated, I should say, areas of the county. Which, having said that, I also would like to, I guess, kind of point up an area that I've noticed over the years. At one point, the care of the inmates and the courts was the sheriff's department's main responsibilities, where law enforcement kind of came in, as, I don't want to say an afterthought, but it was not as high up on the list as what the other two were. Once the 911 system came online, the law enforcement aspect of the sheriff's department here in Dubois County anyway, basically came up to and on even par with the courts and the inmates. And that's one of the areas that I think has not really been incorporated yet into the administration of the Sheriff's Department, is the fact that law enforcement is now caught up and is even with the courts and the inmates.
So that's part of your plans of improving the office?
Yes. The plans that I would have for the Sheriff's Department would be taking into consideration that thought that the law enforcement aspect of the Sheriff's Department is on even keel with the courts and the inmates. The things that I would be looking at doing in my plan would be adopting new policies and procedures that are a little more modern, up to date, adopting new technologies, utilizing all department personnel in a little more efficient manner, be a strong advocate for the department itself as the sheriff, making the department a little more accessible, friendly to the public, and then finally cutting, waste wherever possible.
The office is for 4 years.
That's correct.
To implement some of your plans, how long would that take?
Well, I guess the way to put it would be 20 years of, what we talked about, of having problems linger, that type of thing. It's definitely not going to be an overnight fix. I understand that. I think the public should understand it's not going to be an overnight fix. But it is something that you can get a good start right away. And my plans can actually be broken down into 2 areas. One being the jail itself, the other being, again, for lack of a better term, the law enforcement or the deputy side of the Sheriff's Department. In the jail, I would like to see the implementation of an automated fingerprint system, which would make for a better set of prints, a more usable print. That information would then be transmitted, immediately up to the proper authorities for background checks, that type of thing. The other thing I would like to see implemented would be a better mug system that would be a little more user-friendly and more accessible to everybody, all the law enforcement agencies in the county. And the same thing goes for the fingerprints. That would also be accessible to the other departments. And lastly, for their side, I'd like to see a little more training for the jail staff. On the law enforcement side, or the deputy side, if you will, again, I would like to see a little better management as far as personnel, and also the modernization, like I said, of the procedures and policies that we use within the department, so that I can get more deputies out on the road where they need to be in the first place. That's why they're here. Again, not just the courts, but the law enforcement also. So I'd like to get them out on the streets more. And lastly, again, like I said, cutting department waste wherever possible. And that waste can mean wasted time, wasted money, wasted energy on things that are not vital to our function. I guess, for lack of a better word there, I want to concentrate more on what our vital responsibilities are and get whatever equipment we can, and policies to allow us to do that core function.
Of course, this all depends on funding. How is the department funded?
Again, the department is funded through taxpayer money, which goes hand in hand with, like I said, you've got a limited amount of funds. I don't want to pay any more taxes than anyone else. So you have a limited amount of funds that you use to run that department. So again, if we get back to funding the core responsibilities of the law enforcement and the jail side, maybe do away with, for lack of a better term, toys, trinkets that are maybe good for PR or feel-good things, which, again, I understand you've got to have public relations and that type of thing, but I'd like to see concentrating on the tools that we need to do the law enforcement job and the jail job.
I tell you what, you have just a little over 2 minutes left to use as you wish.
Well, first off, like I said, I would like to thank TV 27 for putting on this forum. As a candidate, it's hard to get your message out and I really do appreciate this opportunity. I guess I would like to close by saying that I've got over 20 years of time in with the Sheriff's Department. I've seen problems come. I've seen minor changes. I've not seen much change to the administration, the way everything's run. We have problems. We're like everyone else. And it's my belief that the organizations and businesses that do the best are the ones that recognize those problems, have a plan, have an idea to correct those problems, and then see that the problems are corrected. I know what the problems are. I have a plan, and we have the personnel to take care of those problems, and I want to see those problems corrected. I guess to put it another way would be to say re-elect the same or vote for a change. If elected, I promise there will be a change at the Sheriff's Department and everyone will be able to see the changes eventually. And with that, I guess I would just like to close in saying, remember this November 7th to elect Forrest Kieser Sheriff.
Thank you. Our guest, Forrest Kieser, candidate for Sheriff of Dubois County.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Candidate Series. Our guest at this time is Terry Tanner, who's running for Sheriff of Dubois County. Welcome.
Thank you, Paul.
Terry, I know you've been a lifelong resident of the county, but anyway, tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself.
I was born in Huntingburg, native in Huntingburg. My parents were William and Fern Tanner. I had two brothers, Bob and Jeff, and I had an infant sister that died at birth. My family or siblings are all deceased at this time. I went to attended the school systems in Huntingburg, St. Mary's, and Huntingburg High School, old Happy Hunter days, and did pursue special classes with Oakland City College, night school, for a year to continue a little education, and past that, I was married. My wife is Jackie Tanner, or presently, she was Jacqueline Snellenberger. Her mom and dad are Charles and Muriel Snellenberger of Huntingburg, and when we were married, we moved to Jasper, and that's been our home since our marriage. And basically, we both worked in Jasper at the time, kind of facilitating the move. Since that time, I had joined Jasper Volunteer Fire Department, served with them for 30 years, presently retired from the fire department. A great 30-year experience doing work with the local fire departments, and with Jasper, you work with all 12 fire departments in the county. So you garner a lot of friendships and meet a lot of people through the fine fire departments here. During my time with the Sheriff's Department, I've had the privilege of working under 3 different sheriffs. Sheriff Hillary Hoaxang was the sheriff that hired me in 1975, and which I presently enjoy still working with the Sheriff's Department. Ambrose Wills was a 4-term sheriff that I worked with him through his last 2 terms, and presently Sheriff Jerry Breeding. I've been his chief deputy through his. He'll be completing his 2nd term this year.
And then you are seeking the office of sheriff again.
Correct. Previously, through my experience on the Sheriff's Department, in 1991, or basically 1990, I ran for the office of sheriff at the completion of Ambrose Wills' 2nd term, and was elected sheriff and to serve from 1991 and again in 1995 through 98. So I have served previously 2 terms as sheriff, and I feel very familiar with the office, and I chose to stay on the Sheriff's Department after my 2nd term to continue to be abreast of new developments and staying up to date on what the department does, with the possibility of again running for this office if it would present itself, which today it has. That's what I'm seeking.
Seeking the office. I'm sure you're very familiar with what the duties of the office are.
The duties are, according to Indiana Constitution, are very, very profound and worded, but simply put, it's a constitutional office declared by the state of Indiana in their Constitution. So it makes it a special position to hold, and we are charged with care and of the inmates, upkeep of the jail. We're charged with the security and service of any legal process by our local courts up to the federal court systems of the United States. We're dutied to preserve the peace of the county, and then also, if in view of a crime being committed, we're charged with making an arrest and taking that person to court.
As a resident of the county, what changes would you like to see accomplished in the next 4 years as an office holder?
The changes, what's going to be facing the new sheriff coming into this office next year, we will be working with the budget that actually is submitted by the present sheriff 6 months ago. We will have to review that budget and work within that budget for the first year. The present situation that Sheriff Jerry Breeding is addressing, and has just been recently, he's been able to get permission for funding to update our computer control system for the security center, which is now 16 years old. Like our department, it's a 24/7 operation. It never shuts down. Things run continually. And our computer control system, it controls the locks to the cells and important things of that nature for security, is just not, the components aren't replaceable anymore. So we're undertaking a update to that system. And the other thing would be keeping our patrol vehicles up to date, and we're going to look at increasing our use of technologies and updating our record systems to better serve the department and the people of Dubois County.
You also are in charge of the inmates?
Right. The inmates are a big responsibility and liability to the sheriff. They have to be fed properly. We are charged with their medical attention. their basic well care. Minor illnesses or serious illnesses become the responsibility of the sheriff and his staff. And unfortunately, that is a monetary responsibility to the citizens of Dubois County. And the sheriff is always striving to hold those costs to an extreme minimum if possible and still maintain the well-being and health of that inmate.
The how many people does it hold?
The present facility has been double bunked since originally constructed. So we have 83 what I call permanent beds. There is 9 holding cells, which are individual, and we have a drunk tank, or we call it a drunk tank, which really does not have a physical number restriction to it. And that kind of compromises our total facility capacity.
What is the average daily
Presently, we're holding around 65 in that area. At one time, a couple of years ago, we had gone up to 150 in our facility, and that was a unique and trying time for our staff to maintain that number of people in that small facility. And but we have gone down to a more average of 80, 85, and presently we're working with around a 65 average.
I tell you, Terry, we have roughly 2 minutes left, and you have 2 minutes to tell the viewing audience whatever you like.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I sincerely have, through my years with the Sheriff's Department, this occupation has been very good to me, and I've strived to serve the people of Dubois County in their best interest, and with a level and open mind. I think in the past years, my 31 years with the county, I am always been strive to be a good listener. I'm not a solver of every problem that we have, but I do take every problem on and try to find an answer at a fiscal, responsible way there is possible to better this department and be able to better serve the people in Dubois County, and for the safety of our officers, strive to implement purchase of equipment and supplies that will protect them and help them do their job better. We all strive. There are 16 sworn people to the department, and we're always striving to do the right thing for people, and anything that we can to make it safer. We're the ambassadors to the county. People coming into the county, how we treat them in traffic stops makes an impression on what Dubois County is like. And we like to take pride in being a happy note to people coming to Dubois County, plus protecting them.
Terry, thank you for being our guest today on the WJTS Candidate Series. And I'd like to remind everyone to be sure to vote on November the 7th.
Thank you, Paul.